There's that and the foxes. We got 3 foxes.
Wow. How are we doing, Shaylee? Is it still coming?
It's saying it's loading.
Okay.
Yeah, they ended up dropping 19 at my house this spring. Every one of our fruit trees got decimated.
Wow. They like fruit.
Yeah, they went to town. My first year of having my plums, I was all excited. They took every one.
Oh,
I got the feed, Shaylee.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay. You're good then.
okay, we're good to go. We would like to welcome you to our city council work session this evening, Tuesday, October 6th, 2020. For the record, all city council members are present with the exception of Councilor Arnold, who is asked to be excused tonight. I've asked Councilor Steve Hilton if he would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay, please rise with me to repeat the pledge.
Well, hey, wait a sec.
We gonna do that in a work meeting or we can do that in a regular meeting?
Oh, hey. This is a practice. You know, it's funny, I was sitting here just before we started thinking, I've got to remember we're in the work session, because, you know, when you're not in the conference room, it's totally different. You know.
I about had a heart attack because I haven't pulled that flag up yet.
I've got a couple of you doing the same thing, the comment you made, so, all right.
That's good.
Anything for public comment tonight, Miss Nay?
Nobody is here and I have no emails.
Okay, how about you, Rich? Anything on your side?
I don't have any texts.
Okay, thank you. Move on next to the mayor's report for this meeting. I'll just, a couple of you asked her a little bit ago about the election, or excuse me, election. The job opening to fill the city administrator's position. That was announced about a week and a half ago. It's open until filled. Thus far, we've had approximately 30 applications come in. There are a lot of those, well, there are some, let's put it this way, that probably not fully qualified. Right now, it looks like we'll do some interviews tomorrow. Couple internal candidates, and then on Friday we're going to do some, I think most of the day we'll be doing interviews for that position. Kind of mixed it up. It looks like probably we'll interview probably about 8 or 10 people as of right now from what we're looking at. As far as the panel, I was really, well, first let me mention this. While that was being announced, we was given a little time. I actually talked with all the department heads. I talked with some of the other key folks in the city, and just to see what they thought, what direction we needed to go, and what we thought about people that are here and people at others, and just kind of get a feeling. I learned a lot in that little over a week. I learned a lot about things, about different people and what their thoughts are. And I appreciated doing that. They really, just about all of them really just basically told me what their concerns were and what they thought. And I thought that was real good feedback to start this off with, kind of find out what the employees were interested in, what they hope to see. And I think we're here. It's important we get somebody in there that's a good fit. That, in fact, I think fit is probably as important as maybe even more important is the qualifications, that we get the right person in there, he or she, and that can that can do a good job and people like working with. The last one, we hired our last city administrator. Council pretty well was the panel for that. This time I've asked, I think we've got 3 employees that's on the panel. We've got 2 city council members. I asked our mayor pro tem to be on the panel, and I also asked our junior councilman, Mr. Hilton. So they'll be serving on the panel. I also asked Matt Dixon, who is the city manager in South Ogden. He helped with the West Haven hiring. He's pretty up to speed, I think, and knows a lot of people that are around that may be applying. So he willingly offered to help. So then there'll be, myself, I'll be included. There'll be about 7 of us on the panel doing interviews, and I think probably, to me, this is probably the single most important thing we do when we serve here is city administrator's position. That's huge. It's important to the people. It's important to the residents. And it's important to all of us. So we're doing our best with that. Do you have any questions on that, what we're doing? Okay. Meeting will be short, so. Move on next to the consent items. Any changes or corrections to the minutes? These are the minutes for September 15th, 2020, the city council regular session. We didn't have a work session that evening. Do we have any changes or corrections to those minutes? Okay, seeing none, move on to the action items. First action item is consideration of resolution 2020-19. This is approving an interlocal agreement between Riverdale City and all fire agencies from Weber Davis counties concerning shared services and coverage for fire protection services. Chief Shawley.
Thanks, Mayor. So we had a couple circumstances where we were dispatched into Davis County and our units were sent for beyond 12 hours. And there were multiple units sent. We didn't really have a whole lot of control on that. And so the chiefs of Weber County got together and kind of put this together. And Chief Matthew took it to Davis County. And everybody's agreed to what units and how long those units will remain on scene. And so now we have an agreement between the 2 counties to receive aid and also give aid.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions for the chief at this point? Mr. Stevens? I think you're on mute, maybe.
What does the word aid mean? Is that a euphemism for money?
No, manpower.
Thank you.
I got a question.
Mr.
Chief, was this in place? I'm trying to figure out why we responded without an agreement. Not that that's a bad thing. I'm just trying to figure out if there was an agreement that caused us to respond in the first place, but it was deficient, that it didn't have a limit.
So we have a state mutual aid agreement that we all follow. And that was the one that was in place previous, but it does not have a limit to how many units or what they can request. And so we built upon that state agreement is what we've done.
Okay.
And it was the basis off of that Farmington fire and that Layton fire. They were both wildland urban interface fires.
And so in practicality, in a situation like that, just curious, how would we pull units back once the timer expires?
So we're sending a chief officer with all the units, and we're requesting that we don't extend past 12 hours.
Okay. We would if we needed to, or we just have an out if we choose not to.
Well, we also have units within Weber County that have MOU agreements with the state of Utah that they can exceed that 12 hours. And
Okay.
once they do that and they get into that 24 operational time period, they can get paid for it as well.
Okay.
So those units would probably take the lead on that.
And if we were occupied in a fire in Davis County, other mutual aid cities would respond to our fires. Is that correct?
Correct. It'd stay the same as what we currently have.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Chief, do you want to talk about, maybe just mention to the council about the heavy rescue thing, or do you want to be on the agenda at a future time, or how would you like to do that? We actually have a little time now, I think. That's why I just wanted to.
Yeah, we can discuss a little bit. Over the past few months, the chiefs have got together. We went to the commissioners, mayor in the spring, and discussed some funding for heavy rescue. The chiefs all got together, worked out a budget, a response model, a plan. We all agree on that plan. There's 6 departments who participate in the current heavy rescue program within Weber County, and Riverdale is the lead on that program. We've approached the county commissioners, and they've tentatively approved moving forward a budget that would allow some funding to come back to Riverdale, which would include a brand new unit or a heavy rescue unit be placed in Riverdale, and also backfill and stipends and a couple other things that would reimburse Riverdale for the use of that heavy rescue.
Great.
Yeah, this is really a good thing. It's huge. In fact, I think when we first started, they were interested though, weren't they, Chief? Seemed like there was interest, but I know there were 1 or 2 chiefs that were a little hard to maybe get to. And Chief Shelley's really been the driver on it, the whole thing. He went over a lot of the details on this budget thing, and when you hear all those details, you'll think, wow, that's really, that's amazing that's happened, because there's really a lot of budget benefits to Riverdale City and for the whole county, really. It's just a job well done, Chief. That's really a good what you've done there. So,
Thank you.
you bet. Any questions on that or anything for the chief?
Will we get
There'll be
additional,
more to come once they approve it.
Yeah, you don't want to say too much till it's approved, right? When do they vote on that?
They have to have the budget approved by the end of October, first part of November.
Okay, for next year, right?
Yeah, for January, yeah.
And the funds for that, is there no fire district funding anymore? So that all comes out of the county budget?
Yeah, it's actually looking like it's going to come out of the county mill levy for the paramedic fund.
Okay,
So there won't be, one thing that I can say is there will not be new taxes on it.
but that comes out of the county general budget, not the, who controls that, I guess, the county commission?
County commission.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Chief. That's a good thing, so. Move on next. Action item number 2, this consideration of ordinance 925. This is to approve the Erkenbrack small subdivision plan and plat at approximately 5644 South Weaver Drive, Riverdale, requested by Cole and Christina Erkenbach. Mr. Eggett.
Thank you, Mayor. The applicants, as you noted, are Cole and Christina Erkenbrack. Cole will be joining us. You can see he's joined us now for the work session, and we'll have him participate with us in the main meeting when we get to that point. The engineering group is CRS Engineers. They'll be represented tonight by Clint Allen, and they've done the engineering for this site plan and subdivision. It is a small subdivision, that's 2 lots. As noted previously, the address is 5644 South Weaver Drive. It's an agricultural A1 zone. About 9.72 acres of property. This lot will be under a legal acre. It's about 42,000 square feet or just under that. On August 28th, this applicant came before the Planning Commission and reviewed their petition. At the conclusion of the review and commentary, the Planning Commission made a approval or recommendation for approval to the City Council with the understanding that the applicant resolve all outstanding staff and engineering concerns. They've since done that, and that they're ready, as you can see by the reports that have been added, for tonight's meeting to present to the City Council for final consideration of their subdivision. There's no public hearing element required for this request. And obviously, following whatever decision is made, should it be approved, the next steps for the site would be for it to move forward with recording and pre-construction activities and processes. Also, as a component of this application this evening, as normally happens with site plans and subdivisions, there is a engineer's cost estimate that has been provided, and our city engineer has approved that engineer's cost estimate as in your packet. So that's pretty much the long and short of it. We do have review comments from the city engineer, public works department, fire department, the police department, and even historically Roger Worthen provided a comment that's in your packet, as well as my review on that. The general plan guidance for this area is set as agricultural, and clearly this proposed plan land use does continue to be used in that. This is part of the Schneider Family Trust properties. I think a couple years ago we did one for Lori Abbott. This is obviously another parcel that's going to be taken from the bulk of what's remaining there. I think you'll continue to see these a little bit at a time coming forward like this in the future as the family starts to see how they want to utilize the family trust property. You will note too on the back end of the parcel in the drawings, an area of this is in the AQs. Their structure will not be in that AQs, which is that Air Force installation conservation zone area. So the home, you'll see the envelope is outside of that area when you look at the drawing. With that, Mayor, I turn it back over to any commentary or questions from the city council or from you, and go from there. Thank you.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Reagan? Okay. Seeing none, move on to action item number 3. This is consideration to set a public hearing for October 20th, 2020 to discuss and consider a budget amendment for the CARES Act funding. Mr. Carden.
So as we've talked to you before, it's time now that we decide how to utilize some of these CARES Act funding. And so we've been compiling a list and kind of wishes and things from the various departments, and as part of that we need to include that in the city budget. So we just request that you set a public hearing, and then at next city council meeting we'll go over in more detail what some of those requests are and those kind of things with that budget amendment. And that's all I have, Mayor, unless anybody has any questions for me.
Any other questions?
Have we had a lot of interest in applying for those grants?
Have we had a lot of interest in the grant portion of it? Weaver County managed that, and we ended up we gave the county, I believe, about $240,000, and that's about how many grants we gave out, or the county gave out for Riverdale businesses.
But we use the money here locally then.
That portion of it, correct.
How much is Riverdale City going to use that additional amount? How much comes to the city?
So in the second installment, we get about $270,000. It's based upon population is how the state divvied it up. And so like Roy City, they're getting about 1.2 million. And so in comparison, we don't get very much, but we'll use that to the best of our abilities.
It's mainly for expenses, Ned, isn't it, Cody?
Yes, that's correct. For things such as like the fire department would like an extra gurney because it takes time to disinfect that gurney while they're doing a transport that has possibly been affected by COVID, and then PPE and some additional laptops, things like that.
There's all kinds of stuff, even like our electronic doors and stuff that will be things that will benefit us for years. We've been able to throw into this, and I think it'll be justified to cover all these things where it won't. Hopefully not all of that most of that will be covered by this instead of city budget. So this will be a nice little thing that we didn't expect coming into this.
Any other questions? Okay, move on. Next, we have a closed executive session scheduled. I asked for this. We won't do that tonight, okay? We're going to forego that. That may come up later, okay? Appreciate those that set it up. I know that WebEx takes a little setting up. Shaylee, Steve, and Cody, and any work there I appreciate. So move on next to discretionary items. Have any discretionary items for this meeting?
Mayor, I got one.
Okay, Councilor Mitchell.
Hey, Mr. Brooks, I'm going to be gone 2 weeks from tonight, and so that animal thing, if we could maybe push that back
Okay,
even a little further. Sorry, I just realized that.
no, that's no problem. They're your raccoons, so
Get it around strategic planning time eventually, and
Let's just talk about it next budget.
yeah,
they'll all be hibernating here soon. You won't have any more problems, so we can wait till next spring. No, that's fine. We'll get scheduled for then.
Okay, anything else, any other discretionary? Okay, do we have a motion during the work session?
I'll move.
Second?
We have a motion, we have a second, like Councilor Mitchell and Councilor Ellis, is that right? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The meeting is adjourned. We'll move on and start our next meeting in about 5 minutes, 5 to 6 minutes. So.
We lost everybody.
Yeah, potty break, I think.
Yeah. I had to get a drink.
Yeah.
Oh.
We ready, Miss Nay? Good to go?
Yes.
I'd like to welcome you to our city council meeting Tuesday, October 6, 2020. Call this meeting to order. Uh, For the record, all city council members are present, as with the exception of Councilor Arnold, who is asked to be excused this evening. We also have members of the staff. We also have members of the public that are with us. Well, we welcome each of you. I've asked Councilor Hilton if he would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Okay, please rise with me and repeat the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Now we'd like, it's customary, we take a moment of silence before we start into our meeting. Go further. Tonight we'd like to take a moment of silence as we remember those who are serving in our military, those who are first responders, our police, our fire, our medical people that are helping during this pandemic. I'm sure we've all seen the numbers have really spiked the last several days, and I'm sure everyone's busy, first responders, medical, and those. I'd like to remember our military people who are serving around the world to help protect our many freedoms that we enjoy each day. I'd also like to remember our city council members this night as they make decisions that they make those decisions that are in the best interest of our residents. Now take a moment of silence. Thank you. Move on next to public comment. Public comment, this is an opportunity to address the city council regarding your concerns or ideas. Please try to limit your comments to 3 minutes. No actions will be taken no action will be taken during public comment. Time is yours for public comment if we have anyone here in the council room.
Nobody's here in the council room, and I don't have anything on the YouTube and no emails.
Okay, any text, Mr. Taylor?
We don't have any text, Mayor.
All right, thank you very much. I'd like to move on next to mayor's report. Got just a couple items that I'll mention. We had a windstorm here not too many weeks ago. It was really significant and it toppled a lot of trees throughout our community. I think they said there were 17 trees down just in the Riverdale Park, but there were different areas that were hit. Some areas were hit really hard. I know Cherry Drive and other places, there was a lot of damage, a lot of trees uprooted, and a lot of work done by a lot of volunteers. One thing that we thought was really saved the day for a lot of people was Stoffers Towing. We've had a contract with Stoffers for several years, but I think they started up and I know they did the terrace and I believe South Ogden they helped also, but they come in with their big tow trucks, the ones they use for semis. They have that other device. What is it, Steve? Do you remember what they call that? That they lift the roots, stumps and roots out?
I can't remember what it is, Mayor.
But it's quite pricey, and all in all, after they finished the terrace here a couple weeks ago, they came down to Riverdale. They got our list, and they were able to help 34 residents. They actually removed 67 stumps, root balls, and hauled those. I think most of it went out to Molding's landfill, which is out near Little Mountain. They did all this at no cost to the city, no cost to the resident. We did, Riverdale City did pay for the tipping fees. Did you say that was about $1,000, Steve, something like that?
Between 1,000 and 1,200 for that part of it. We haven't gotten the other part back, but it was still a killer deal for Riverdale City.
Yeah, it was awesome what they did. We looked at this, tried to figure the monetary value, and it's approaching probably close to $100,000 worth of work they did for the residents in Riverdale alone, not counting the terrace. The terrace was hit even worse up there than we were. So, what a gesture! Community service. That's really pretty neat what they did. They sure went the extra mile, but we're very appreciative to Stoffers, and we're looking at, I know Shaylee's got a plaque made up. We sent them Crumbles cookies already, and we're looking at other ways to express our thanks to them. Just a great gesture on their part. I think you just have to, it's kind of overwhelming what they did, and how much, it cost them a lot of money for manpower and fuel for those trucks, wear and tear, things like that. So, you have any comments or thoughts on that? Okay. Move on. Next, just some comments on Veterans Day. We've been working this with a rising number of cases. We're still looking at doing a Veterans Day program, but it probably won't be a live program. We've talked to those who will participate, and we're going to video it. Rich is working that, probably Chris Stone and Dave Leahy. Braden's been involved. We had a little committee meeting here last week, and kind of how to attack this thing. But I extended an invitation to Brigadier General Macaulay von Hoffman. She is the commander of the Ogden Air Logistics Complex out at Hill Air Force Base, and she very, very willingly said she would be happy to come speak at our Veterans Day program. We've been in contact with her now since we're looking at video. She still wants to come down. She'll come down during the week. We got word back from her a couple days ago, and she will come and do her speech here. We'll do it. We'll record it. We're going to have the other Riches coordinate with the other folks for flag ceremonies and that, but we'll have them all come here to the Civic Center and do all this right here. We did invite T.H. Bell. They have a choir. I think it's the Minuteman Choir is one of their choirs. We invited them. Contacted Len Ward. He's the principal, and what they've come up with, they're able now. You know what's going on in the schools. This is a really difficult thing for them. Choir does know the national anthem, so we've invited them. We're inviting them to come. He said they could do that for us, but they weren't sure about additional numbers. So it looks like at least a choir for T.H. Bell will be either we told them we would come up there and film it outside or inside, or they were welcome to come down here, which they probably put themselves at risk if they travel together to come down here. So we're kind of leaving that up to them where they want to do it. But we'll have a choir from T.H. Bell, and we're just going through kind of our normal program, which usually lasts about 30 to 35 minutes. So that's kind of the plan. I hope you're agreeable to that, but just not sure how else we can do it right now. So, do you have any comments or questions on that? Okay, move on next to the consent items. We have one consent items. This is consideration to approve the meeting minutes from September 15th, 2020. The City Council regular session minutes. We didn't have a work session that evening. Do we have any changes or corrections to those minutes? Seeing none, do we have a motion to approve the consent items?
Motion to approve consent items.
Second.
Okay, motion by Councilor Mitchell, a second by Councilor Ellis. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous in favor to approve the minutes for September 15th. Move on to the action items. First action item, consideration of resolution 2020-19. Approving an interlocal agreement between Riverdale City and all fire agencies from Weber and Davis counties. It's concerning shared services and coverage for fire protection services. Chief Shawley, our fire chief.
Thank you, Mayor. So this agreement defines what type of units and how many personnel get sent between the two counties. In the past, we've just worked off of the state agreement, the mutual aid agreement. This defines this a little bit better for both counties. And it also restricts the amount of time that we spend in each other's counties, so we're not depleting our resources for each other.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Do you have any questions for Chief Shawley?
Yes, Mayor.
Mr. Stevens?
Just out of curiosity, if we don't agree to it, does that just exclude Riverdale, or does it, I mean, are we agreeing to this to be part of the county, or are we acting solely with to agree with Davis County? Meaning, is the Weber County entities acting as a unit to agree with the Davis County entity? I wasn't clear on that.
Yeah, so all the Weber County chiefs got together and came up with the agreement that we proposed to Davis County. And the Davis County chiefs looked over the agreement and approved it. We're basically just expanding upon the state mutual aid agreement, which we have to adhere to. So that we're just building upon that. But yes, all the fire chiefs between the two counties have agreed to this agreement.
Okay, so
to your question.
Well, this is basically by agreeing to it, we're agreeing with all of Weber County and I mean, because the strength is Weber County acting as a unit, from my perspective. And so, or acting as one entity. So that agreement is between not necessarily Riverdale, but between Weber County and Davis County. Is that a fair assessment?
For example, we've identified units coming out of Roy, South Ogden, and Weber Fire District. And during the time that those units are gone, Riverdale, Ogden, and South Ogden, and other departments or other stations would cover those departments that had to leave for that time frame. So it's kind of, to simplify it, we're basically saying we're going to send you, without getting in the weeds here, 3 fire trucks and a brush truck to your incident, but we're not saying any more than that, and we're going to say what they need to be back within 12 hours. And we've even gone as far as identifying which stations are the closest to Davis County that won't deplete all the Weber County resources.
Is Ogden City playing?
What's that?
I'm sorry. Is Ogden City participating?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
But Bart, if I could just might help a little bit. Operational, it's all those entities, but we could always opt out of that if we ever chose to. Our signature doesn't make the agreement go away, or lack of signature. So yeah, it's binding, but it's not. I mean, we still are acting as our own entity from a legal perspective. So not that we ever would, but we do have that option. When I look at these agreements, I always make sure we have that ability to do so. If there's something that happened that we weren't happy with, we could always pull out of it. So.
Okay, yeah, thank you. I was kind of going in that direction, but I was trying to get the overall.
No, that's what I thought you were doing. That's why I wanted to mention that. So.
Okay, thank you.
Chief, I have a question.
Let me mention one thing first, please. Would you mute your mics unless you're speaking? We're getting a lot of feedback and background noise. Probably help us a little bit. Go ahead.
Okay, Chief, I kind of want to make sure that I've got this right. This is really a interagency agreement amongst all of us that are in proximity with each other. It's not really between the two counties as much as it is an agreement to support each other in the event we need each other between all of us. Is that correct?
Correct. And if, like what Steve said, if we're not available to go, we don't go. I mean, that's just what it is. If we don't have the units and the resources available, we can't send something we don't have.
The state agreement still applies, right?
It does.
Yeah, I know. We sent a truck clear to Saratoga Springs, didn't we? When that was, seemed like we had some. Any other questions or comments for Chief Shawlin? Okay, could we get a motion on Resolution 2020-19 to approve the interlocal agreement between Riverdale City and all fire agencies?
So moved.
Of Weber and Davis counties.
Second.
Okay, we had a motion, Councilor Mitchell, a second by Councilor Stevens. Is that right?
I think Hilton.
Is it Hilton?
Doesn't matter.
That's all right. I got a little message right in front of Councilor Hilton. I can't see him right now. Have a motion. We have a second. Ms. Snee, would you poll the council, please, on the resolution?
Councilmember Ellis?
Aye.
Councilmember Mitchell?
Aye.
Councilmember Hilton?
Aye.
Councilmember Stevens?
Aye.
It's unanimous in favor. The resolution passes. Thank you. Move on to action item number 2, consideration of ordinance 925. This is to approve the Erkenbach small subdivision plan and plat at approximately 5644 South Weaver Drive, Riverdale, requested by Cole and Christina Erkenbach. Mr. Agate.
Thank you, Mayor. They're represented tonight, Cole and Christina Arby Cole, who has joined us. So if you have any questions for him, he is available with us this evening. Their representative was going to be Clint Allen with CRS, but I don't see him joining us tonight. So Cole may have to answer any questions you may have for him as it relates to applicant questions. This property is in an agricultural A1 zone. It was presented to the Planning Commission on August 28th, 2020, wherein the small subdivision was reviewed by the Planning Commission, and at the conclusion, they recommended the City Council approve it with the understanding that the applicant was to resolve outstanding staff and engineering concerns. Those concerns have since been resolved, and you can see as much in your packet tonight as far as their report about their review. There's no public hearing requirement for this request. It is a small subdivision, so it does go through a little bit of a quicker process with it being a 2-lot subdivision. And this is also for a subdivision plan and plat, which go together with the application. At the conclusion of the review, should they have a favorable approval, the next steps would be to move forward in recording the plat, setting up the bond or escrow for any of the public right-of-way improvements and the pre-construction processes that follow. The ownership under the county records is Ernest Schneider Jr. Trust Agreement. Property sat undeveloped for many years, about 9.72 acres. Basically just maintained as agricultural properties, horse pasture, etc., in somewhat of a proximity to the existing golf course. Cole Erkenbach is a relative of the Ernest Schneider Group and Trust overseeing the property, and his 1 acre will be just under an acre at about 41,382 square feet as a new building parcel for a home on the property. The rest of the property will remain under the ownership of the trust for the time being, and as I noted in the work session, don't be surprised if we see similar applications for similar subdivisions in the future on this property. The city engineer, public works director, fire department director, and police department and city administrator have all provided reporting comments. When I say city administrator, Mr. Worthing had reported on his review going to planning commission. I figured where it was pertinent, I included it in tonight's summaries. The general plan use for the area is currently set as agricultural, and this project does comply with that. As you move down your packet, you'll see the actual ordinance number that Mr. Brooks has created for your consideration this evening and his supporting exhibits that are required for that resolution, or excuse me, ordinance. You'll see my report. I don't have anything of significance outstanding. A few items that are underlined that are really more administrative items. If you see anything that stands out to you, feel free to comment accordingly as city council, or if you may have anything. Scrolling down to staff reports, Mr. Douglas says he has no concerns with the Erkenbach subdivision. Our police chief Brinkman says he has no concerns. Our fire chief says I'm good. And again, Mr. Worthing says he's good with the small subdivision, similar to the Abbott project a few months back. Similar issues of resolution as per Abbott, which we've resolved. Our engineering consultant says that he recommends approval of the plat and improvement drawings and calculations as submitted. Following that, you'll see the application, the payment of the fees for the application, the engineer's cost estimate from CRS engineers for improvements in the right-of-way. Our city engineer has reviewed that. If you go down to page 43 in your packet, you'll see the engineer's cost estimate approval for that proposed amount of $7,025, which includes 10%. You can see the UDOT access right-of-way approval for their new driveway access on South Weaver Drive, as it is UDOT right-of-way. And then you'll see the plat document and the supporting site plan documents thereafter. That should be everything that has been provided in the packet for tonight's review, and I would defer back to you, Mayor, for further discussion from the council or other parties that are joining us this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Agate. Do we have any questions or comments for Mr. Agate or the Erkenbachs?
Mayor?
Go ahead, Mr. Ellis.
On the plat, it shows a driveway going out to South Weaver Drive. It appears to be on both sides. There's a property line right in the middle of it. Is it going to be a shared driveway, or is that just for convenience in developing the subdivision?
You're right. When you look at it long term, their plan is for that to eventually be a shared driveway for a future subdivision plan. So that is correct. That's the future plan for that.
Does that create a problem if the person that purchases the property doesn't want to share the driveway?
I don't know, Cole. You're online. What do you think, Cole? Could you add to that commentary? What is your thoughts there?
You're on mute still, Cole. We weren't getting any sound. I wasn't. Did others not hearing?
I was not.
No.
Is that better?
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, future lots would be probably not happening, but if they did happen, it would be more inside the family, so it'd be an agreement that would, hey, if you want to build back there, it's got to be a shared driveway type thing.
Because I know there's some problems with different driveways within the city that are shared like that started out good.
You have to share one next door.
Yeah.
Is there going to be anything put in writing so that doesn't create a problem in the future?
Just tell them there's a road for them.
So the shared driveway would be with anybody behind it. So if you wanted to build behind it, you'd have to agree that you would share a driveway. It's not like you could just buy an acre behind it and then say, hey, I don't want to share a driveway. Does that make sense? Right?
Okay. So we got, where do I push?
Spacebar. No, spacebar.
Okay, so on that plat, this is Brent Kenley. I'm Ernie's son-in-law. So on the plat, it shows we have two driveways, one at the Abbott residence that serves the two lots to the south. Okay, that'll all, everybody's agreeable on that. And then on Cole and Christina's lot, there is a shared driveway for them and the house that would go to the south of them. Future development has an entirely different road to develop the back of the lot. That's shown on the north end of the plot that goes behind the houses. And then if we ever develop the ground behind there and split it into lots, that road there would serve those lots. Does that make sense, guys?
Yeah, I was just wondering why you put the driveway between the two lots, right on the boundary between the two properties.
So that each lot had a driveway coming into it, because we could only have so many accesses on the county road.
Per UDOT is per UDOT's designation. That makes some more sense. That key point makes more sense where UDOT will only give you so many access ways on South Weaver Drive. Councilmember Ellis, that's probably why that does make some sense.
Okay, I was just wondering why it was split between the two properties, so.
It's a good question, and I'm glad you asked it, but that makes more sense. UDOT is pretty careful where they provide right-of-way access, and that makes some sense.
Driveway, the actual driveway, not the easement behind it.
Yeah, so our agreement to get to develop the property with UDOT was X amount of, 3 accesses. It started out as 1 access, and that was on the Abbott home. But plotting it out, we couldn't figure out how to get access to all the property. So we went back and we've replotted everything. And they ended up giving us the 3 accesses. So the 2 houses share the frontage lots. And then anything built behind there has to have a road put in and come in from behind. You can see that on your plan if you're looking at it on the north end of the plat.
It's on page 46, Council.
Okay, that makes sense. I just couldn't figure out why you put a driveway right on the boundary between 2 properties. So that was my question.
And our intent was too also is that road is expensive when you start having to put roads to supply lots. we don't feel that anybody involved with the Ernie Schneider Trust, that we're going to develop that back there. There's ample lots along the front right now for grandkids, and that's what they're being used for. You know, the golf course still uses the property in the back for their burn pile and chipping and stuff like that. So unless the golf course goes away, that will probably never develop.
You okay with that, Counselor?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments on that? Okay, with that, do we have a motion to approve ordinance 925?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Counselor Ellis, Counselor Mitchell, second. Ms. Nay, would you poll the council, please, on this ordinance?
Councilmember Mitchell,
Aye.
Councilmember Hilton,
Aye.
Councilmember Stevens,
Aye.
Councilmember Ellis.
Aye.
Okay, unanimous in favor, the motion passes. Move on to action item number 3.
Can we just say thank you, guys, and come out? Okay, thanks for your time.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Thanks for your comments and your clarification on those driveways, and that helps a lot. So good
All
luck to you with your project, okay?
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Good night.
Good night.
Okay, move on to action item number 3, consideration to set a public hearing for October 20th, 2020 to discuss and consider a budget amendment for the CARES Act funding. Mr. Carden.
Thank you, Mayor. So as we talked in the work session, this is just to set a public hearing so that we can do a budget amendment. And with that budget amendment, we will bring our plan with us for the CARES Act funding. And as we talked about earlier, we have some things in place and worked with the department heads to find out what everybody's needs are and how that funding can be used the best. To answer Councilor Ellis's question earlier, the county gave out $277,000 in grants to businesses out of that first allotment of funds and the first distribution of loans, and there was 20 in Riverdale businesses. And that was 23 businesses in Riverdale. We had contributed about $244,000 towards those grants. So in effect, we gave $244,000 and the county gave out about $33,000 of their own funding to businesses. This amendment, as we talked earlier and Steve mentioned, it's mainly going to be for things that the county or the city needs in connection with COVID-19 and CARES Act. And so we just request that you set a public hearing for next city council meeting, and I can answer any questions you have.
Okay, any questions? Okay, seeing none, we have a motion on action item number 3, consideration to set a public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I think everybody's still got their mics off. Only got one yay on that, so. Okay, move on to closed executive session. It's next on the agenda. We won't be doing that one this evening. Okay, that'll be deferred possibly to another meeting. Move on to discretionary items. Any discretionary items for this meeting?
Mayor?
Mr. Stevens, Bart.
As far as the COVID and how it impacts our interactions, I don't really follow whatever the guidelines are because they are so dynamic. I just kind of observe my daily routines. And when I go to the community center to work out, you had Rich had the exercise equipment spread out into the gym and whatnot. When I was there yesterday, everything's back into that east room off of the gymnasium. What's the dynamics as far as what we can do now, and is activities in the gym going to be resuming, meaning ball games and pickleball and that sort of thing?
Mr. Taylor, do you have a comment on that?
So the main reason that we moved the exercise equipment to start with is simply because the health department has given us a guideline that we can have one person per 100 square feet. And so when we moved the exercise equipment to a bigger room, we could accommodate more people. We have not been seeing that heavy use, as you've probably experienced, where it wouldn't be a problem to accommodate the use that we've been seeing with the equipment back in the exercise room. In addition, we have taken registration for a girls basketball league that is set to start play at the end of the month. We're still working through what that exactly is going to look like. Working with the health department and other cities involved, trying to follow the guidelines there. So there's a couple things at play that cause us to move the equipment.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Any other discretionary?
Mayor, I had one.
Go ahead, Councilor Mitchell.
I had asked some time ago if someone could maybe touch base with UDOT and see about maybe getting a right turn arrow put in by the new Starbucks that goes up into the terrace. That arrow would be green as people are coming out of the terrace. I know that's still a pretty big congestion area. It backs up all the way, towards Pet Boys and even AutoZone sometimes. I was wondering if anybody had a chance to reach out to UDOT on that.
I haven't. I don't know if that was something Roger was working on or not. So you're talking about if they're on Riverdale Road and they're going to go up into the terrace to get a right arrow there. So it flows a little bit better because that lane backs up so far. Okay.
It's they do it around in different cities, and it's pretty darn effective. Like it's so that when people are making that left out of the terrace coming on Riverdale Road, the people going up don't even have to look. They can just go right around that. It really clears it out quick. So
it makes sense there. I don't know why they didn't do that originally because that's heavy use and that backs up all the time in that one lane. So we'll get on that, Braden. I was unaware of, but I got it on my notes. We'll jump on it.
Oh, there's been a lot of different things. I mean, we've had the COVID, we had Roger, so I'm just bringing it back to the top. If someone can look at that would be fantastic. It would just benefit so many people.
No, I agree.
No, it's good, yeah. Anything else, any other discretionary? Have we had any other public comment during the meeting, Ms. Evans?
No emails and nothing on the YouTube.
How about you, Rich?
I don't have any texts, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Move on next to adjourn. Do we have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So moved.
Second?
Yeah, we motion, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous in favor. The meeting's adjourned. Thank you very much for being here.